for that question. And I started my journey of my career with a degree in electrical and electronics engineering from BITS Pilani. I worked in technical roles for almost a decade before I moved into HR. I must say that when I had, when I had completed my education, I had not thought that I would make the switch. But somewhere along the way, I made this switch, and I got a very good opportunity with a telecom startup to get into management development. And because experimenting is something I have been liking to do, and the organization's need to focus on technology also matched with the situation. Both these things, played out brilliantly in my favor, and I moved into HR. So there hasn't been any looking back since then. I would say that at this point of time, when I was making a move into HR, there were a lot of things that were happening in my career or in my life. One was about, I had worked in a corporate sector, then I had moved into a government sector. And this was like moving back into corporate. So that was one big shift. Another shift was that I was moving from an established organization into a startup. A third and a very big shift was I was making a lateral move from technology into HR. So that was a big one without a formal education in HR. And all this was happening with the backdrop of having two very small children, 4 and 5 years. So what I would say is that this was a switch I made into completely a zone which was not a comfort area for me. It was in fact very uncharted territory for me, but I moved in there. So for me, a ship is safe at the shore, but that's not where it is meant to be. And, though that is one aspect of the career. Since then, I've been in various organizations leading HR. So I have been, right now, I'm the CHRO for Schneider Electric for India and South Asia. Before that, I've been the HR leader for Aircel Limited. I have worked with Microsoft, IBM, Escotel, NIC, Blue Star, so a whole lot of organizations, both initially in the technology roles, and then I moved into HR as I called out. So as I sort of reflect back on my journey, what I would say, I think about and I feel is a lot of gratitude and humility for the type of teams, the seniors, the peers, and the organizational environments that I got to work with. So now I'm 35 plus years into the industry, and I would say that is what has helped me achieve and contribute to culture change, to evolution of cultures, progressive people practices, taking organizations to being best employers. And, that is what has happened. And hence I could achieve certain heights in my professional journey, which has become a fulfilling journey. And moving from there, if I was to talk about my free time, I love interacting with people. So spending time with my friends, with my family, with my professional colleagues becomes an important part of what I do. I love gardening of late of the last few years. So I devote a lot of time to my plants and my flowers, etc. I also love sports. So badminton, table tennis, swimming, these are some of the things that I really like to do. Some bit of reading in the middle of all this, and some things like painting, etc. I haven't done for some time, but I would want in future to invest my time into. So there is, of course, one aspect of how loyalty or tenure in an organization is evolving. You still have organizations, and you still have in different organizations employees who want to stay for a longer time. And there are people, even in my company, there are 25 years, 35-year tenure, employees. And then there are people who would like to gain experience of different kinds. and would want to experience different cultures. And if the organization doesn't provide that, they may want to move. So I would say the trend is very different for different people. And that's what takes me to this. It's difficult to generalize that trend, that everybody is wanting it to be in this way or in that way. So I would say that it takes us to the second part of your question, which is about engaging the workforce of the future and how are organizations readying themselves for that. So that's a very, very interesting aspect. And I would like to call out saying that, over the past years, there are some mega trends which are shaping the world. There's a huge acceleration in the adoption of digital technologies, and connectivity has changed the way we work and the way we live, and we all know it. In the last many years, this has happened, and in the last 2 years, it has probably 2-3 years, it's accelerated even more. The sense of urgency around climate change has intensified. So organizations are making it a more serious agenda for themselves. And then new ways of organizing workforces has emerged because there is digital and remote. There are workforces which are diverse, workforces which want to engage in different ways. And there are like open talent ecosystems. So let's just look at the emergence of the workforce and workplace of the future and how does it seem today. Many organizations would like to work with network teams. So there are these permanent employees, but for certain actions and objectives, they'd want to get people together from different roles to give part of their time. And then it is like a plug and play approach for delivery of that result. Apart from this, there are definitely core groups of high potential, high performing employees. But also organizations are opening up to the idea of borrowing talent, wherein when needed, which is what I said, they have a job and then they are borrowed for certain projects. And there's also this concept of gig contracts, external gig and internal gig workers for certain niche skills. So now what is happening is that executives need to, going forward, look at creative ways in which this can be done and all this workforce can be brought up together. I would like to say that in my company, in Schneider, we have been on the journey of digital evolution, flexible ways of working for some 7-8 years. Sustainability has been at the core of a purpose for over a decade. So we have looked at experimenting with flexibility, with new ways of working, and arrived at a permanent hybrid work environment wherein people come to office for some days and work from elsewhere on certain days. And it could be different for different teams because we've empowered managers. And then as we are taking things forward for the workforce, we're experimenting with a lot of external gig workers and internal borrowed employees. And for this borrow of employees, we have a very disruptive tool called Open Talent Market. It's an AI-based tool through which you can apply for projects which are there globally across Schneider. You can also find roles globally across Schneider, and you can get mentoring engagements through that. So this is what helps. And I think increasingly we are seeing that organizations are working on, such different workforces, not your usual workforce, but skill is becoming more important than who is doing it. And how do you get those skills in part-time manner, full-time manner, gig contract or a borrowed internal contract is becoming the norm, will become the norm, at least we can say. Some organizations, like I said, have started experimenting with it. And I would also like to call out that it has some clear, advantages. You get any kind of skill if you're looking at skill-based work from outside, and you don't have to probably give them a compensation of a full-time employee forever, only for those skills you engage and only for those skills you pay. And similarly, the shortage of talent and the competition gets taken care of to a certain extent in this. So it's a very interesting trend which is coming up, and organizations are experimenting with the talent segments and are experimenting with technologies which will make them available. This is also one of my areas of great passion. So let me begin by saying that DI today is a business imperative for any organization. And I know there is a lot of online research on it, but let me just summarize it for everybody here, that we know that all this research confirms that business results improve if we have a more diverse workforce. Why does it improve? Is because policies become more balanced when made from all perspectives and made by different perspective holders. Customers are both men, women, young, old, from every walk of life. And so if we need to handle the needs of the customer, having all those perspective inside becomes very important. We know that all this brings higher creativity and innovation. And anyway, it is not a great idea to miss 50% of the or more of the talent pool which comes from other diverse, segments. All this ends up adding to higher performance for the organization. Now, I think it is just not enough to hire these different diverse people, but it is equally important to include them in what you're doing. And that's why diversity and inclusion becomes very important. So I would say that it's like not just enough to invite everybody for the party, but it's important how everybody actively dances in the party. So treating all the communities with respect and fairness, valuing their uniqueness, sense of belonging, that is what inclusive leaders would do. So inclusive leadership actually becomes the hallmark of a diverse and inclusive workplace. Now, in leading in an organizations like Schneider, where I would say we really worked very hard on this aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it's been also a very fulfilling journey because, we are completely, we believe at a philosophical level that equal opportunities to everyone, everywhere, while fostering a culture where employees can be uniquely valued for the contributions or what they get, what they are. And this DEI aspect is very, very strongly embedded in our business strategy. So just if I was to illustrate, our strong sustainability strategy has DEI aspects embedded, and it is a commitment through our sustainability, Schneider Sustainability Index, Impact Index, to the external market, to the shareholders, to the stakeholders. And all our aspects of employee value proposition has something called inclusive, our values has something called embrace different, our leadership expectations, which we expect from the leaders to demonstrate, also have something called building the best team. And for us, best teams mean best diverse teams. So it is very strongly at a philosophy, strategy, and program level. Now in India itself, when we started a journey way back in 2014, we were at a very, very usual, ratio, which was not the best. In our first 2 years of work on this, dedicated work on this aspect, and here I'm talking about just the gender diversity. I'm not talking right now of generation or nationality or whatever. I'm right now only talking of gender diversity. We were at a lower ratio, but in 2 years of work, we moved to 14% point increase. And today we are sitting at a 22% point increase from the time we started. Hence, in order to be building this whole aspect of DEI from a gender lens, we had to look at a lot of aspects of policies. Firstly, we had to recognize that for women, there are certain life stages which are very unique from others, which are to do with marriage, mobility of spouse, maternity, medical care of elders. This is all what I call as the 4M stages. And if they have to deal with this and contribute to their personal and professional and organizational life, we need to look at the whole ecosystem in a different way. So we started looking at hiring, development, enablement of the work environment through policies, social commitment, and advocacy as a 5-pronged strategy that we took up for this. Towards hiring, we were very, very clear that we would want to hire up to 50% women in all the open roles. However, it has to be completely focused in terms of efforts by managers, efforts by employees, efforts by talent acquisition and HR to get the best people for the job. So merit and performance and potential at the top, but within that, how do we make extra effort to get people who qualify for these criteria for this set of roles with the best deliverable. We also realized at the senior levels we don't have so many women, and why our industry, in any industry, we don't have so much of senior management which is gender balanced. So we started infusing women at the mid-level. We started talking of very interesting employee referrals, very interesting second career programs, which is second innings for women coming back to work. We call it her second inning. And we started partnering with the search partners in a very differentiated manner. In terms of development, we created this Urja program. We are all about energy, our work. And Urja is a women development program. Now I think almost 1,000 women in the last few years have gone through it. And it teaches them how to really take the stage and, take their career forward, take support along the way. But we also thought it was very important to have managers sensitized, leaders sensitized, and we started driving these sensitization workshops for people managers. And also an element of that was the hidden bias, so that they're very cognizant of their own hidden biases, because we all would have some. Then policy wise, we really launched a lot of flexible policy, all kind of flexibility, from part-time working, so to few hours working to different hours working, and very good parental policies around all partnership for maternity, paternity, but also, for sabbatical for reasons of any life stage, your child is in 12th or whatever. And also policies around surrogacy, policies around adoption, everything, so that people get the best opportunity for handling this important stage of parenthood in their lives. Then we looked at some societal commitments, because we wanted to position ourselves as what we are, more known in the world outside, in the market outside, for the sort of gender balance that we are driving. So we instituted Prerna Awards in 2015, which we give to women entrepreneurs who have done cutting edge work, maybe from rural area. And then we started driving Jagriti, which is about teaching students in school about gender balance and respect for each other. And Saksham is yet another initiative which we are driving, which is about awareness and focus around inclusion of people with disabilities. And we're doing continuous education on all of that. So with a whole lot of initiatives and whole lot of change management of thought processes, mindsets, handling or becoming aware, and then handling unconscious bias, subconscious bias, is the work that we've been doing. So now we've made it into a regular conversation mode. Leaders are supposed to do these roundtables or huddles with their teams very often on these topics, which are informal chats. So people ask questions, and not necessarily the leader, but anybody can answer from the group on what were their biases, how did they deal with them, what are they still dealing with, which is helping us transform the culture. And possibly for that, we've been recognized in the market a lot, in the industry a lot. including Catalyst Award, which Schneider Electric received for its work in Schneider Electric India. Okay, so we did receive very recently we were called out as a winner for health and well-being by CHRO, and I would like to just say that health and well-being has not been an agenda for Schneider Electric in the phase of this pandemic. We started way back, probably in 2015. Focusing very, very strongly on wellness of employees, and health and well-being has been a strong agenda for us since then. So let me call out that we followed this pronged approach, but there is a fifth interesting aspect to it. So it's a 4-quadrant approach, let me say. It's about the physical well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, and social well-being. And then we have this component of financial well-being, which cuts across all of this. So for us, at a concept level, at a philosophical level, we think it is connected to care of employees, which is very important for us. But it is also our philosophy of well-being is performance, and performance is well-being. So care, performance, well-being is all very, very connected for all of us. And let me just share with you that there are things that we've been doing in terms of certain innovative practices which maybe helped us go in the direction of such recognition, but more importantly, as a business strategy. So I talked about flexibility at work and new ways of working with this new workplace environment, but flexibility since a very long time, which is something that helps people take care of personal life, take care of professional life, and hence it provides them with a certain kind of fulfillment, certain kind of balance, which is very, very important. We have been driving this very strongly. Very recently, we around 2 years back, we had a proper playbook created for it, and then we ran boot camps for our leaders and managers on it. We have a global family leave policy in which in fact India had already created something like that. So we built further with this global information. Instead of just taking sick leave, we give care leave to people to take care of their families when there is an issue of health, of any kind of health in the family. So this care leave has created a lot of support for employees in taking care of their families. Also, we give volunteering leave to take care of social well-being. So people get 2.5 days of volunteering leave in a year, and they can do any kind of volunteering in that time. But if they have to contribute to the the CSR programs of the company, then they don't need any leave. They can just go on a work day. And this work for us is all around sustainability. It's around, which is also a part of a business strategy, but it's also around electrician training, electrification in rural areas, and skilling around this. So people can contribute to it, for which they need no leave. So this is what I would say are, and then some of our programs like sabbatical, etc., and all those different kinds of policies helps here. I would also say that the leaders are trained and people managers are trained for regular check-in. So a meeting begins with a regular check-in of how do I feel today? What's happening in my life? Not the whole incident, but how does it make me feel, hopeful, sad, whatever. So people become aware of each other's mental state as they are getting into the meeting. And it creates a kind of support system, I would say. During the pandemic, we had grief counseling, etc., organized wherever there were issues. Though luckily for us, it was not that bad, but of course there were some sporadic incidents. We've been regularly doing mindfulness and energy workshops in the company, which teach people on how to utilize their energy for maximum benefits and how to practice mindfulness. There are interesting things like wellbeing labs where, people with similar hobbies like photography or gardening or, anything else come together and drive that. So that team is just created by them. And then that also helps in their social well-being. Sometimes we do these Monday mornings, beat the blue music kind of thing. So a lot of innovation has happened around what will make employees feel very connected and taken care of in our system. So that's what we've done. What I want to really call out and why we got recognized is that we measure some amount of ROI of all of this. Our medical claims have decreased by 20% in the last few years. Our, medical incident rate has decreased by 50%. When we do our survey, employee engagement survey every year, 81% people feel they have flexibility to modify their work and they feel that they can decide the best mode of working. Lot of women, 96% of women returning from maternity have joined back and have not left it. So I would say there's a lot of measurement that we have done, but we've also looked at certain other aspects, which are our engagement survey increasing by 7 points when we compare overall, because all this contributes to the engagement. So there have been organizational health, which is in terms of trends of illnesses decreasing, is another thing that we measure. We are somewhere around 1.8 on 10. So overall, these are some of the things that we look at. Awareness is high on mental health, particularly in the last 4-5 years, because each manager is trained to identify if somebody is going through mental wellness issues, and then we have our Sathi and employee assistance program, which free of cost supports them. So those are the things that we had done. Thank you for mentioning this and asking about it. And that is what has led us to then have a workplace which is very well-being and health conscious, is what I would say. I don't know if I can say in one learning, but what I would say is that for me personally, the attributes which stand out are, aiming high, because I feel that if you aim for the moon, you may hit the stars at least. Courage and conviction, and building your courage and conviction, and then, pushing yourself, stretching the boundaries and pushing yourself outside the comfort zone, because obviously ship is safe, but it is not meant to be there. So these are some of the things. So self-belief, passion and pride are some of the things I would definitely call out as my learnings from my journey. And it worked for me, but I can't say the same for everybody, but because everybody is different. On a professional journey perspective, I think staying abreast of the trends, I think workforce of the future is the next game changer. As HR fraternity, as business fraternity, as organizations, are we ready to embrace it? Is something that I would call out as one of the many areas to look at. But being abreast of the trends, ushering in progressive practices, which really means challenging the status quo, challenging the current culture and current mindsets, is really what I have tried to do and what I think would be needed in the workplace as we go across also. So thanks for checking on that question.